Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the McKinney Podcast, where we celebrate what makes us unique by nature. Our guest for this episode is a member of the 2026 class of Leadership McKinney, along with my co-host, Mr. Fred Mahusay. Erika McWilliams with the Bingham Estate.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, this is fun. I don't know why it took us a year and a half to realize that, wait a second, if we sprinkle in people that are in leadership, well, we're likely to get a really interesting variety of guests from a lot of different places around McKinney.
Yeah.
But we know for sure that everybody who's on that list, well, McKinney Chamber has already done a good job of vetting our guest pool.
They already did the work.
Because, if you're in Leadership McKinney, guess what? You probably have a cool story, and you're probably someone who's doing something interesting that our audience might want to hear about.
Yeah.
So, welcome. Yeah, that's the second time she's been welcome. That's like welcome.
Right.
Double
She's
welcome.
doubly welcome.
That's what we do at the Bingham. We welcome you. Welcome to McKinney.
That is an awesome cue and transition into the Bingham Estate.
Let's talk about me.
So,
all right. So
what?
What?
Yeah, we're being watched right now by a potential hire for RiskWell. Sorry, that glass is going to be frosted by the time the next person is sitting here. We have the Minuteman Press coming on Monday, so shout out to Kenny and the team at Minuteman Press for all of their wonderful signage help. We tried as best we could to work with local companies whenever possible.
Absolutely.
So
the door from the other studio,
different
size,
dimensions.
Really,
it would have left about 3/4 of an inch gap at the bottom. And rather than try to figure out how to do that or have sound just spilling out from the studio into the office. And as you'll notice, right up here in our ceiling, they did some AV work and some electrical stuff, and they didn't put the ceiling tile back. So as we found out yesterday, when that ceiling tile is gone, that whole part of the office can hear every word we say.
Nice.
Thank you so much for that, guys. Really appreciate it.
Hope they enjoy this session.
Was it a la carte AV services? Did you add?
It was the building.
Oh,
it's the building people were doing some electrical work.
Okay.
I think. So anyways, that has nothing to do with Erika or the Bingham Estate.
I can segue this.
You could probably guarantee that if you go to the Bingham Estate, you will not see
missing ceiling tiles.
No,
probably not.
No.
Okay.
You never know what
Erika, before we get to the Bingham Estate, I want to hear about you. About your story, you as an individual, as young person getting into your life, family, marriage, kids, other work before the Bingham. How did you get to this chapter of your life? Give us background, whatever you want to share, whatever you think is interesting. Go for it. What you got?
Yeah. Grew up in Corpus Christi and San Antonio. Oil business. Ended up at TCU where I met my husband. Second day of college.
Go Frogs.
Yeah. It was 2001, so 9/11 happened in that class, art history. But married Tim. We lived in Fort Worth for a while. I started my audit career at Deloitte and thought that was my path. And I was
Big Four.
I was like, go all the way. I'm going to be partner and very competitive that way, and did that for a while. Tim went to law school. He was a litigator at that time in divorce law, things like that. And then after we were pregnant with the second baby, we decided to move to his hometown in McKinney. And I was good with that because I had already had my first historic house. And of course, downtown McKinney, 13 years ago, even looked a little bit different. But I was just immediately smitten because our first house in McKinney or in Fort Worth was a 1928 Tudor. And I was just like, this is the greatest thing of my life. So anyways, kept going in my audit career, and we lived in El Dorado area where he grew up, and it was great, but I was just begging for a historic house. So we ended up buying 504 West Virginia, which was a bed and breakfast at one point.
Just off the square.
Right off the square, 4 houses. And it was everything. I loved it. It was owned by Francis Abernathy of the Abernathy lawyers, which is a fun connection because my husband's firm was Orr and Abernathy, and Abernathy wanted to have a big firm and Orr didn't, and then it ended up being with my father-in-law, McWilliams, and then now it's McWilliams and McWilliams. So anyway, stayed there. But we lived in the historic house, loved it. And around COVID, someone was asking, they were like, what fills your cup? And I was like, I don't know. I do accounting and I do this. I'm raising the 3 kids, all the things. And I was like, I couldn't answer that. And then it finally just hit me. It was like, I love historic homes. I want to do something. So that's where my company started, Clover Lane Properties. started restoring houses. I finished our historic house. I bought the one next door, and that was the first one I flipped. And I was like, this is great. And then the opportunity to leave my job, I was at Globe Life Insurance for 7 years, and great. And but COVID, it does things to you, right? It just makes you start seeing, is this where I want my life to go? And I just felt like I had done 15 years in accounting. It was time for a transition. So we ended up selling our 2 houses. We moved back over to El Dorado area and got my 3rd house. I called it the Tulip House, and it was great. And so I always loved sourcing the houses with old materials. And so I meet this man, and he said, hey, my name is Bill Lynch. I used to own the Bingham House. And I was like, what? Where is that? And he told me it's over off Highway 5, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's great. Then 2 days later, my daughter's best friend called and said, hey, are you ready for your next historic house? And I was like, yeah, the Tulip House is ready to be put up for sale. And he goes, okay, there's one coming for a private sale. Have you heard of the Bingham House? And
Wow.
I fully believe God will just smack you in the face and say, okay, here's where you need to be. And I saw the house, that week, and I walked in, and I was just in love. And it had 12-foot ceilings, but it had been a wedding venue for about 2 years. They bought it March of 2020. So think about doing a wedding venue, and it just wasn't great. And they wanted to do a big 200-person wedding, and the city of McKinney wasn't real thrilled with that, just because it's a residential area and always maintained as a bed and breakfast. But anyway, so I walked in, and I was like, okay, let's go. I'm going to buy this. And he's like, you want to see the rest of the property? And I was like, well, okay. I mean, sure. But I walked through the back, and it looked like it was straight out of the Notebook. And then walked around the side, and I saw this big white fence, and I was like, what is that? And he was like, our parking lot. Well, the Bingham is 1.4 acres. And so I immediately was like, I want to build cottages. And so left the tour, called my husband and said, draft me a contract. And he was like, what are you buying? I was like, I'm buying the Bingham. And he was like, what are you doing with it? I was like, I don't know. I want to restore it. I know I wanted to restore it so it didn't just get knocked down and, just be, little tract homes. But the Bingham just keeps unfolding. And so the Bingham today is now rebranded to the Bingham Estate. So we have a main house built in 1883, 4 suites. We have a tea room, 1,200 square feet. And we're going to have a little front office kind of and kitchen back there. And then we have a carriage house. And then we have 6 newly built cottages that look historic. And they're all named after the Bingham children. So
Wow.
Yeah. So my accounting brain has led me to running kind of a historic inn.
Gosh, that is just so cool. Is that not the most McKinney kind of story?
Yeah, no.
It's like professional, husband was born and raised here, came back, and does accounting, does construction, does some Globe Life. Also a big presence in McKinney. Globe Life is
amazing. Shout out to the old team.
Yeah, I mean, for real, a solid McKinney-based business there.
Yeah.
Now their global headquarters is located right there on 121 next to South State Bank, formerly Independent Financial.
Sidebar: the co-CEOs, Matt Darden was a Deloitte partner. So,
really?
Yeah, and then Frank Sabota was one of my bosses. So CFO just got promoted to CEO. But they're amazing. They're excellent company.
And it's so cool to see like their name on the Rangers ballpark, and it's like that's McKinney Company with international reach. But shout out to Globe Life. Way to go, guys!
Yeah.
Keep repping it.
Yeah.
But yeah, your story is just so freaking cool. I mean, like that is precisely why we started this podcast.
Yeah.
Was to curate good stories about interesting people and interesting things happening around town, increase awareness of what's going on, and just celebrate McKinney. Because like you could have done this anywhere. You're the kind of person, obviously you're the kind of lady who has, business goals, and you're very ambitious, like you said, but you've got skills also, and you're raising a family, but you chose to do this in McKinney.
Yeah.
I'm all the way here for it. I love it.
McKinney is so special. And even just part of our group, we just did a tour of the Mill House, which is Beth that oversees it. And it's all about women. And at the beginning of the Bingham, I really didn't know who the Bingham was going to be and where the brand was going to go. And it takes time, right? It's like a flower. It takes a little bit of time to open up, but the Bingham really is evolving to be very women-centric, and and having tea parties and retreats. But retreats is where my heart's at. We'll have the bride's the bachelorette party, but I want, your group to come in and let's have a retreat. Let's get out of the office, stop going to some of the big hotels. Let's do something different. So we've had art retreats, counseling retreats, corporate retreats, all those kinds of things. Hugs Cafe was just there a few weeks ago. And I love stuff like that.
Now, so
okay,
obviously,
I'm thinking for 2026, our annual meeting.
Well, it sleeps up to 20. We have 10 bedrooms on property. You're hop, skip, gonna jump. We're on Chestnut Street. It's south,
just right off the
square.
Yeah,
we're a farmer's market and right there.
Walk.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I said I need more insurance so I can get my little golf carts.
So have you? Obviously, McKinney has a very quaint downtown area, but we're surrounded by, other towns that have a small square area. Have you thought about replicating this? Greenville, or I was actually in Whitesboro yesterday and my destination. I had to go through their little downtown square area.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's it's got a vibe. Of course, McKinney is way out of their league. But have you thought about doing something like this in the neighboring areas?
Yes. No, I would love that. Before I do that, I have to do one more other goal of the Bingham is kind of you stay at the Bingham, you shop like the Bingham, you eat at the Bingham. So the next step for the Bingham is to have our restaurant. I'm always amazed by Matt Hamilton with his local yokel brand. And so it's kind of a similar thing, but be more feminine and be under the Bingham brand. So really, I want the restaurant and the store. And I'm very inspired by Charleston, South Carolina. I feel like you can get that vibe and not go far. And DFW is the greatest space. It's so easy to jump into. So you really can come from all over. But Charleston has the best food. And I think we're missing that quintessential Southern, and it's in a different way where chefs are so inspired. There's a chef, a new restaurant in Frisco called Elaine's Cocktail Kitchen. It's a friend that owns it, Jason Young and his group. And I hadn't eaten food like that in a long time. And it reminded me of Charleston. It's just, the chef is very creative. And so I'm like, we need more of this kind of flavor.
So you're going to acquire property and open up a coffee shop right next door, and
I hope so. I hope so. I keep putting it out there. My husband said I need to get the Bingham going a little bit more, and just it's awareness. While I bought the property in September of 22, we just fully opened the estate in April of 25. So it's just getting out there.
How much digging have you done on the commercial food service side of things?
Not as much at all. It's a different beast.
I don't mean to stomp on anyone's dreams. I will just say that side of things is an animal all by itself. The moment you start a commercial food operation, that is without a doubt harder than the hospitality, the property side of things.
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of years in restaurant and food service management, and it is exceptionally difficult compared to the other stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
Not taking away from the other stuff, it's definitely difficult to run a venue and have the stuff that you're doing. The moment you add food to the equation, everything gets a lot more complicated.
No, that's what I've heard. That's why it's like, hey, let's get this where we need it to be comfortably so I can step away a little bit more and focus on a new thing. And I think it's a challenge. I know my husband kind of looks at me like I'm crazy, or my parents like, what are we doing here? But I'm like, no, you just got to keep going.
I don't think you're crazy at all. I don't think that's the right word, but it's obvious just from looking at you. You've got that spark in your eye. Like it's been there the whole episode. I think you're just an incredibly ambitious woman. You're not satisfied with where things are because your vision of where things could be is so powerful in the way that you make choices and process information. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, no, it's true. Even why we moved downtown McKinney, we moved to El Dorado first, and it drove me crazy when I drove down Virginia and the houses just weren't nice, and I hated it. And so I was like, put your money where your mouth is. Let's go. And if you go from downtown all the way on Virginia, every house is updated. It's like you get a little fire in other people. Even where the Bingham's located, we're south of the square, and just people it's fun now that the Bingham has been built. You go around and people are all fixing up their homes. Their yards are nicer. It's just, you see growth. People want to see people who are excited, and it spreads. It's the opposite of the negativity.
Well, it's positive social pressure.
And people, it doesn't matter if your house is big or small. The houses are smaller generally around the Bingham, but they're great people, and they just want to feel safe too.
Well, in the insurance world, we call it we call it pride of ownership, where it doesn't matter how big your house is. Is the lawn well taken care of?
Yep.
Are your bushes trimmed? Is the paint in good shape, or is it peeling or cracked? Whatever. Like, is the fascia, is it warped? Is it broken and cracked and whatnot? And just do you care about your property?
Yeah.
Is the driveway level? Is it sealed? Do you have giant cracks running through stuff? That's that kind of attention to detail just says, I care about where I live.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool that you're noticing that you guys are able to, apply some positive social pressure in a gentle way, obviously, without being like, hey, your house looks like crap. You better fix it up. Because I can't imagine you would say that to anyone. But, when they recognize, oh, I better level up. I don't want to look like that neighbor.
That's right.
Next to that nice house over there.
So I call that, that pride of ownership. I call it that. Don't want to be that guy.
Yeah,
I don't want to be that guy. It can be the guy next door, but not me. And so, but I do believe that the same energy that you're bringing to the Bingham has been a revitalizing breath of fresh air that has been sweeping through downtown McKinney. Because when we moved here, in December of 2010, and we went downtown, I mean, the amount of just the energy, the energy on the square is so much greater now. And I noticed that, because, when I'm down there, it's a little more challenging to find parking, but, the city addressed that and gave us the parking garage.
And the trolley.
Yeah, and the trolley.
They brought the trolley. I love that trolley,
That's
man.
right.
I know. I'm like, can the trolley drive by the Bingham?
That's right.
I will get it. I'm determined to make it go that route.
Well, you get enough traffic going.
I know.
And the city listens. To where are the services needed? So, apologize, my phone is ringing through my glasses. I'm like, I can't hear.
Did you break the first rule of podcasting? Silence your phone before you start recording.
My phone is silenced, but these glasses, there's a speaker microphone array right here, so it's buzzing. Like ding 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 ding. I'm like,
Fred has those Meta glasses by Ray-Ban. For those of you that aren't watching on the YouTube channel,
They really need to sell those for sports with parents, so they're not holding their phones up. Everybody can just have the glasses on.
But then we'll be Wall-E.
Yeah.
They could sell premium recliners with big screens. You can just sit back. Okay, but you what you said, you do have that spark. How many hours a day? How many hours physically are in a day for you? For the rest of the world, it's 24. What do you have?
I mean, I think it's ebbs and flows, but it's constantly. I'm learning as a business owner coming from corporate world. It's 24 hours a day. You're constantly thinking about the business. You're trying to do one thing for there, and you're coming back and saying, okay, how did I market this? How can I be different? So we were finally able to grow enough where I have some marketing people. I have a great property manager and housekeeping, so they can be a little bit more on the Bingham. But for this kind of new phase I'm going into, because I actually did all the construction. I'd never built a home from the ground up. So I learned how to do that, work with the city of McKinney. So that was a whole different game. But now in this new part, it's more doing things like this and awareness and, being part of Leadership McKinney and visiting with people and marketing. That's kind of a big focus.
Well, it's got to be nice for you to have institutional support from the city.
Yeah.
Where you've got folks in development that know what they're doing, where you've got the Historical Preservation Society, Main Street McKinney.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 different organizations right off the top of my head that are probably really interested in helping you make it the best it can be, because it's just that representation of historical McKinney, which, I think it's human nature to kind of, romanticize and glorify the past and think that things were better than they actually were. Because, every era has had its systemic challenges and, lots of stuff. I mean, you talk about 1883, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the post-Civil War Reconstructionist South. Yeah. Where, everything back then was really great if you were a white married landowner. And it's like the rest of society at that time had lots and lots of struggles that the people that built and owned the Bingham originally probably didn't face because they were prosperous. They had already made it at that point.
Yeah.
And just thinking about how we go about kind of celebrating the best, but also simultaneously asking ourselves, like, how can we become the best version of the city that we need to be so that everybody has an opportunity to celebrate the good in life?
Yeah.
You know, and I think what you're doing, creating opportunities for people to have gainful employment, for people to see something that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
These properties, nobody's building these properties anymore. So to give someone appreciation for some of the best of what used to be, I just think that's really admirable.
Oh, thank you. No, I think the biggest thing walk away from my experience is that you got to have a dream, right? You got to take a chance. And yes, it does take money, but I think there are so many great resources in our area that if you just knock on somebody's door, you know, Visit McKinney's been great, Historic Downtown's been great, but just other business mentors, people want to sit and have a cup of coffee and say, hey, this is what I've learned. This is how you should maybe approach it. And I really appreciate that because, you know, it's a little scary jumping in. I thought I would build the Bingham and it would just be 100% occupancy. Well, that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it happened for some of the other places, but it's going to take a little time and awareness, especially in hospitality. It's not the same customer. You know, I've noticed if you're selling product, you can sell another piece, but most people, if they're coming through McKinney, maybe it's once a year or twice a year. So that's a different kind of part of my brain. It's new to me.
Now, I know you know who Rick Wells is. Have you had FaceTime with him? Have you talked shop with him at all?
No.
Okay.
I was meeting with some people with his new manager at the Grain Hotel.
Okay.
And I know, and Don Day, I would love to visit with some of those movers and shakers of
Daddy Day, as they call him. Oh my gosh. You know, that guy, you want to talk about downtown real estate, Don Day.
And then he's doing tons of stuff in Denison.
Yeah.
It's so fun being McKinneyite and going to Denison. And I was talking about how great their downtown was in a store. And I said something about McKinney. And he was like, yeah, Don Day, he's doing awesome stuff down here. And I was like, that's great. I'm proud.
Well, yeah. I mean, Denison, in large part because of Mr. Day, like Denison is kind of McKinney's spiritual little brother.
And it seems larger than our downtown area, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Just land-wise,
Yeah,
it is. It's
beautiful.
A little bit less compact. Ours is all within like a 8 or 6 or 8 block radius is where like the most concentration is.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's cool when you go to the square in Denison. Most people have never been to the square in Denison.
We went and ate at the restaurant. The owner of Layered, owns the new steak restaurant down there.
How about that?
It was fantastic.
And they have their high school football stadium just right there.
Right there.
So, that's the one thing that, McKinney has an excellent host of schools, and we do have a pretty enviable stadium. But there's something about that hometown. Everybody turns up on Friday night,
Friday
right
night
there.
lights,
That's
man.
right.
Did you see that on Instagram where it's a small town in Texas where the football players are leaving on the bus and there's a whole bunch of dads on horses with the big American flag coming through and they put the most perfect music and every time I see it I tear up because I'm like, Texas!
Born and raised Texan and obnoxiously fond of Texas.
I love it. In America, proud.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of public speaking and like consulting and conference stuff in the insurance world. I go all over the country, and it's so interesting to see all these people from everywhere else, all over the place. Nobody is really as big of a my state's better than your state.
Oh, because we already know.
It's like,
That's right.
I mean, pick a state. Even the people that are like, I like it. I like being here. And it's like, yeah, but. Like, I've got Texas tattooed on my arm right now.
I'm like, we ride at dawn.
It's
let's
literally
go.
like we're really, really about our state.
Yeah.
And I don't see that anywhere else. The way that Fred and I have described it is we get to live in the best city, in the best state, in the best country on planet Earth. And it's just like, really, McKinney really is the best of the best of the best.
I love it.
So
it's a small town feel. That's what I always tell my guests. It's Main Street America, but yet you want the biggest city behind you. Okay, go to Dallas. But you still have that small town feel. And maybe that's why Captain Bingham came. But I'll tell you one little history about Captain Bingham. So, of course, served in the Civil War. And that's where he saw when he was fighting down in Georgia. in the war, that's where he saw an old Georgian mansion, drew it on the back of I always say like a war map or paper. You know, they didn't have cell phones or your fancy glasses.
Well, he was probably watching Gone with the Wind and said, I love that.
And that's what he came home and built for his family. But he worked for the predecessor of the Dallas Morning News. And then he bought a small newspaper in town called the Enquirer. And it's on the backside of of the Grand Hotel right on Louisiana. So that's another goal.
The Enquirer, but not the National Enquirer.
No.
Okay.
And then when Captain Bingham was done doing the paper, he's a very quiet man. He just shut the paper down. Didn't pass it on, just the paper closed down.
Wow.
But that's a goal too. I want to also buy that building and turn it into a little, like it would be the Enquirer, would be a sandwich shop and have little newspapers going and, you know, wrap your sandwich in newspaper.
Love it.
I want the whole thing.
You're already 10 steps down the road.
In my mind, the Bingham is done and I'm like, let's go to the next project. But I keep doing food. So I feel like I need to make the Bingham.
We can talk offline.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you already know Matt, of course. You know, Matt can tell you how difficult it is. But I mean, he's got the entire supply chain.
Yeah.
You know, have you heard his episode on this podcast?
No.
It's one of our longest running ones.
It's a 2-part episode because we went so long, we couldn't do one episode because it would have been like an hour and 40 minutes long. Mm-hmm. But you want to talk about somebody who's got an understanding of the beef industry in a way maybe no one else does.
I loved how he taught how to look for the eggs and how you look on the back of the carton. Just education that way in a simple way. I'm like, okay, I can put that in my toolbox now. Let's go get some eggs.
So let me ask, we've got a lot of people listening to this show that might be thinking to themselves, they may want to start a business of some kind. Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear your take on how you went about actually doing that because, well, you were a professional lady for sure. Like you had a great job at a Big Four accounting firm.
Yeah, I had a whole career.
You know, you got a whole career there.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean you know anything about running a small business or starting one from scratch. What was that process like for you? How did you go from big corporate job to, hey, you know what? I think I want to do this. And obviously your husband had something to do with it because he's also a small business owner, you know, running a law firm as a partner. Yeah. So it wasn't like you didn't have some kind of idea already just as the spouse of someone who is running a small business.
Yeah.
What was it like for you as an individual? Like, how did you get to the point where you felt comfortable stepping out like that?
I would say my husband was my silent partner. I don't think it was from his perspective of you can go start a business. That's not his thing. But I think number one, you have to have a passion for something. So I knew it was historic houses. So I didn't leave my corporate job. It was on the weekends starting doing restoring houses. And so started Clover Lane Properties, doing a little bit because going from having a big career and having, you know, big income and then completely losing that and then the struggle of trying to start a business, I think that is pretty scary, right? So I think start small. And so by the time I bought the Bingham, it was the 4th historic house I had restored. So I already knew that kind of business. And then a little bit of that is a leap of faith, right? Because I could have restored the Bingham and sold it right off and just kept carrying on what I was doing. But turning it into an actual business, I think it's faith, really. I think can you do it? And then coming up with a business plan. So I had the accounting and budgeting and being able to talk to the banks and those things. But I think if I could go back, I wish I would have maybe done more research to understand a little bit more of the hospitality business. Again, I think at certain points I was like, I'm building something pretty. Everybody's going to come. But there's a ton of pretty things everywhere that people have choices. And then you don't factor in the economy not being that great or people not traveling. So I think you have to be more creative. And the other thing, I think it's surrounding yourself with really smart people that know certain things. And I think that's how you can grow.
Awesome.
All right, so how did you, the people tuning in, they, as James said, they're broad and diverse. As a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, how do you, I asked that question just specifically about how many hours are in your day. Speak to those people. How do you build, grow, transition, and have a family? Because, insider knowledge, your children are in activities.
Yeah.
So how do you balance all that up?
I don't think you balance. They taught that at Deloitte. It was this, it's you can dial down or dial up, right? It's a choice. I'm not going to, if I'm full in Bingham, my kids are not getting as much attention in certain things, or maybe I'm not at a game, or, when I was doing all the construction as the contractor, you have to, it's give and take, right? So I think as a mom, as much as you can do from home and start and balance that way, but you're never going to have it perfect. And I think you just have to have support to help with your children and know you just can't be at everything. But, in the long haul, you're going to get over that hump. So it was a choice that I made because when I worked at Deloitte, I was working 60, 80 hours a week. So I had a career and I didn't see my children, right, as much. And so even when I got to Globe Life, I had a more steady job, but it was just a little bit different. And so construction-wise, I have to, if someone can't be at the Bingham, I'm at the Bingham, right? And so I just think we tell ourselves as women that it's balance. It will never be. You just make a choice. And you just hope that choice that you're making is going to pay off on the other side. And if not, you have to learn how to pivot. It's just kind of at the card table. You got to know when to fold.
I love that. So things we learn here are lots of caffeine, no sleep, and balance is a lie.
Yeah, it's hard. I cry a lot about the Bingham and how I want it to be. I see that, like I said, I see the Bingham done. I see it constantly with people there. I see retreats and all these things. And the struggle is what's going to make it beautiful, right? And we're learning and growing. One special thing that we brought on this year was Chef Donna of the Jelly Queens. She had her little shop on downtown McKinney where Ham's Burgers was. And she's been such a great addition, has so much experience and has taught me, tea parties and catering, and she handles all that and just connection and growing. But I think we all just have to have patience. We see on Instagram, it's beautiful and wow, that girl did all of that. And go have a conversation with that owner and realize what she sacrificed to get herself there.
Speaking of which, you were recently recognized in front of the city council.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. There's Best Texas Travel Awards. And so the Bingham got picked for most unique location in a big market. So that's just the design of the Bingham was so much fun. We got to work with local Sidewalk Dreamery interior designers, Signe and Cassie, and they helped bring that vision of the cottages and the siblings, and then a local architect here, Mark McReynolds, I've worked with on all my historic houses. So it's just amazing to get something like that. And I like that it's unique because that's what most unique by nature. Yeah,
I'm telling you. Do we like unique by nature kind of things, friends?
We love unique by nature.
I catch flack sometimes, usually during political season, because I'm just an unabashed enthusiast, apologist for city of McKinney and how great it is to live here, to be here, the people, the schools, the culture, the opportunities, the business growth, the airport, the amphitheater, the Adriatica, the stuff on 121, all of the stuff that happens. And, some people don't feel the same way about McKinney. Some people like to complain. And I catch a lot of flack because I don't spend as much time acknowledging or, really working through the stuff that isn't great.
Yeah.
I think that may not be my role at this chapter of life.
Yeah.
It is simply to point out the stuff that's good and to encourage people to, hey, you know what? Are you taking advantage of that thing over there that maybe you don't even know it exists?
Yeah.
The things you're complaining about. Oh, the houses are too expensive here. Yeah, they are. I agree.
Or, just no one is proclaiming how great El Dorado is now.
Yeah.
But just a couple months ago, that's all people could do is complain that, it's under construction. But just before that, they're complaining about the condition of the road. And so when the city steps in to actually do something, now they're grousing about the fact that they don't have use of all the lanes. And I'm like,
bro, as someone whose business is on El Dorado, where we are sitting right now is on El Dorado. They have every right to complain because it's a real pain in the butt, especially now that they're over there, down there by El Dorado Country Club and, there's stuff just west of 75. Those streets are already difficult just from the nature of the way that the streets were designed with that little double curve there just west of 75. It's already a hard place to be driving. But you add in all the construction, all the paving, all the sidewalking, all of the landscaping. It's like, I know this has to happen.
Right.
But man, this is just going to suck for a couple of months. There's no way around it. The people, thankfully, when they were doing our part, they were kind enough to be rapid about it. Our parking lot, our building was only disrupted for about 2.5, maybe 3 weeks total. But yeah, the single lane thing, I mean, it's the cost of living in a growing, vibrant city where everybody wants to be.
We should be so thankful that we have a city that's actually doing things and
Amen.
growing. So, and you know what? And that's fine. What part of the table are you going to sit at? Are you going to be over here? What did they say at our leadership McKinney? It was, if you're not sitting at the table,
you're on the menu.
You're on the menu. And who said that? It was one. That
sounds like something a developer would say.
No, it was the old principal of Fabian, Harvey.
Oaxaca.
Yeah, he's
Harvey Oaxaca.
Yes, and I was like, I totally believe that. There's people that complain about that, but are you actually sitting in our city and developing it and doing things? Mm-hmm. If you're not, I just don't care.
I mean, there's really 3 buckets of people. There's people that are excited about the growth. There's people that aren't paying attention. They're just living their lives. Mm-hmm. Then there's people who like to complain about it being different than it used to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you came here at some point. Oh, I was born here. Okay, cool. Well, your parents came here at some point. And it's like, the people that get somewhere and then shut the door behind them, I don't really understand that. And I was like, I want to make McKinney as great as it can possibly be for the next 100,000 people that move here.
Yeah.
And it's like, because Allison and I pulled a map out and picked where we want to be. We're literally everywhere. I didn't want to leave DFW. I knew that for sure. It's like, why would you leave DFW? Like the things that you move to a location for.
The work
great economy, good work, good culture, access to good transportation, good schools,
winning football team,
whatever. But it's like all the reasons why you would move to a region other than a beautiful beach or like mountains or something where you would have vacation, whatever. It's like DFW has all of that, so we're not going to leave DFW.
Yeah.
Within DFW, okay, well, what's the most attractive place? But what has what we were looking for? What has a great, amazing park system and green space system? What has good schools? What has good opportunity, good business climate, where the real estate's not too expensive? Sorry, Highland Park, looking at you, not going to happen. And we literally had a process of elimination of every city in DFW.
Yeah.
And it came down to either, what was the second one? It was like Grapevine was one, and then McKinney was one. And
historic areas.
Yeah. Because the commitment to having a vibrant, multi-generational culture where, I don't even pretend to not be annoyed by Frisco. The corporatism and the generic bland, just ugh. Well, more power to you, Frisco. I'm glad you guys are successful. That's just a different flavor of city that is attractive to me. I would never live in a Frisco, ever, ever, ever.
Yeah. They have their downtown strip. It's under construction. It's under construction.
It's really
But all that to say, like McKinney is the single best suburb for people that think like we do. So the whole idea of me coming here and then a decade later complaining that it's so grown up is like, that's just the nature of hypocrisy. It's like, you were attracted here. You were drawn here. You like living here, but you want to complain that other people want to do what you did?
Yeah.
They want to come to McKinney and enjoy all the amazing stuff in McKinney, and you want to complain about that? Yeah. Come on.
Well, I get involved, right?
Yeah.
Get involved in the city and don't just go to your, pay money, go into your grocery store. My husband has served on the historic board.
The Preservation Society?
They didn't ask me. I'm like, I'm the one, but they wanted the lawyer. And then he's now serving on planning and zoning and loves that. Yes. And then I've done the leadership McKinney route. So I'm excited. Hopefully maybe the historic board will let me come in.
I imagine you'll
a different way. I keep knocking. I'm like, I love it.
Well, the most important thing is that people are engaged and involved. I moved from adjustments to, which is the appeals board for planning and zoning. This past go around, moved over to Parks and Rec.
Ooh.
And we've got our meeting this afternoon. And the second Thursday of every month we meet. And I could not agree more. Like plugging in some meaningful way.
Yeah. And I feel like now just Tim being part of P&Z and Leadership McKinney, I've seen the council, all the councilmen, the council group.
Yep, council people.
Council people.
Council members.
So much more. And
Reps.
and it feels more personal. And obviously they all have different opinions, but it's nice just to see them outside, running for office, just seeing, okay, what do you believe? Really, I love hearing, I've been seeing Patrick a lot lately, just what meetings. And it's really interesting, a businessman that's been on the square for a long time and his family. And I think it's great. And, who is it? Who's District 3?
Jeray Feltus.
Yes. Well, that's one. I'm like, there's a balance, right? Being a doctor, and raising her children, and it's amazing to see. You can do it. It's just choices.
Well, the thing that nobody really pays attention to in these Facebook groups full of complainers on occasion is we don't have these professional political operatives running our city. That's not the reality of things. We've got a mayor who's a real estate developer.
Who's been here forever.
3 generations.
Local boy.
Yeah.
But we've got a city council, let's see, medical doctor, banker, financial advisor, attorney, another banker, another attorney, and a retired guy who's a former hospital administrator.
In McKinney.
In McKinney.
Yeah.
And I was like, of the 7 people that make up council, that's who it is. They're all professional, long-term, people that are making things happen in our city. And oh, by the way, they're giving up 20 or 30 hours a week to serve the citizens of McKinney.
I didn't realize how much time it took when you just started seeing all the different things that they do. And I know they rotate in schedules, but there's always more than there's not, right? Yep. And so I think it's amazing. And I'm proud of what we're seeing. And especially, downtown is where my heart is. I live for downtown. So even though I don't live right there, I represent El Dorado, but historic is everything.
So, Eric, I want to ask real quick about the Leadership McKinney thing. There's someone like you, there's no shortage of things to spend your time on, whether it's nonprofit board or philanthropy or doing stuff with your kids' school, PTA or whatever. What is it about Leadership McKinney that drew you to want to be a part of this family?
I wanted to meet people that were like-minded in the sense of, a lot of entrepreneurs are in our group. I think that's great. The exposure to our city. 2 weeks ago, we were just at Collin College. I would have never gone over to Collin College and learned about it. So just all the different things of our city. And I think it will just be a great springboard for me to get involved in different ways. My husband's been here for 50 years. He's, like a Bill Cox, right? He's learned and participated in different ways. So I feel like it's a little bit more social too. And so the group is great and it's very diverse from different views, but it definitely is a time commitment. So I will say that you got to be prepared for that to be able to, once a month and do we were just talking about our group project.
The once a month meeting is the easy part.
Yeah, it's your group.
It's all the communication that happens in between the meetings.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys haven't really even got to the meat and potatoes of your project yet.
Oh no, our group is way ahead. We're about
you guys are the same group?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's your project?
It's
Public
over
safety.
Public safety.
Okay.
And what's fun, we started with one way and we've gone 10 different ways, and now I think we're kind of getting to the point. So.
It got very fractured, and everybody in the group is passionate about something.
Yeah.
And we're trying to put together all of these passions, and of course, since you've been through it, that final project is not a 3-hour documentary dissertation level thing.
15-minute presentation of something you guys spent many hours working on.
Yes. And so as we were meeting and, I could see we really need to talk about this. We really need to talk about that. And I'm sitting there going, there's not enough time. And even in our last meeting, which was that this week or last week?
Yeah.
Was it this week?
Yeah.
I don't even know what day we're on. We were still skinnying things out, and we still, but it's a great way that what Erika said when you realize who you're in the room with and the resources that we have, it's incredible. And I just want to, I want to jump on the city council person bandwagon. They're so accessible. We literally we're having a discussion about the recent ordinances that were passed about the homeless situation. And
Downtown.
we didn't have clarity, so I sent a message to Patrick Cloutier.
Oh no, we got it.
Yeah, and he called me.
Quick.
He called me and he was like, listen, here's the answer. And I was like, wow.
Well, and Patrick and Justin Beller are the two biggest advocates in that particular conversation, to my knowledge. Like both of those guys, probably more so Justin, just because so much of that is happening in his district, in District 1.
Yep.
Beller is one of the most caring and engaged people you could ever ask. It was really interesting to me when the whole conversation came out of whether he was going to run or not. And this was obviously, he just got reelected by the good people of District 1, so that tells you what they think about him. But when he came out, it was like, hey, you're middle-class white banker from Arkansas, what do you think you're doing representing District 1, which is the most diverse district in our city by far? It has the most socioeconomic challenges by far. And just what he's done with the ideas that he's promoted, the policy positions that he's promoted, to the point that, Derek Robinson, who's a friend and leadership alum, and his wife Saritha was in our leadership class, Derek was considering running for District 1. And a lot of people were like, Derek, you should run for District 1. You'd be great on council. And him and Justin are friends. And they just had this amicable meeting of, well, you're going to run. Well, I'm not going to run if you're going to run. Well, I'm not going to run if you're going to run. And both of them were just like, you'll be great at that. No, you'll be great at that. It was like, I agree. They'd both be great at that. But just the way that both of those guys, just stand-up citizens, both of them had what's best for the city and what's best for District 1. And people that don't listen to this podcast, who don't listen to any podcast because they're too busy working 3 jobs to provide for their family. And it was like, man, that is just the essence of McKinney. That kind of story, most people will never hear about it, that there was a polite, conversation, probably multiple conversations. I'm only knowing this hearsay from hearing people say what happened because I wasn't in the room when it happened, but I've talked to both of those guys about it. And I'm just like, man, that was really cool. The way that both of you came to the conversation where neither one of you is pushing personal ambition. Neither one of you is like, well, I want to do it. And it wasn't any of that. It was what's best for the people of McKinney. And I mean, I imagine we'll probably see, Derek Robinson on city council at some point. Because I mean, Justin's only on for 3 more years. It's like, well, who's going to be next? Well, I'll bet you it's Derek if I had to guess.
Yeah. But District 1 is, because that's the half side of downtown.
It's a weirdly shaped district.
Yeah, and that's where the Bingham's at as well. And I love what's happening over there. It's so much good growth and positive, and you just see a lot more community people coming out, and it's wonderful. Excited for hugs over there.
Love
and
it.
Tups.
So, Justin, we're a huge fan of yours. Derek, I hope you run. I'd love to be able to support you in that office.
And you heard it here first on the McKinney Podcast.
Nobody asked me what I thought, but I'm telling you, I think Derek's an amazing human. What him and Saritha are doing with AEYL and their organization, and we will have them on at some point.
Yes.
We just keep on scheduling just is not working out, but he's been like, hey, yeah, I want to do that. I'm like, well, we want you to do that. So yeah, this is, again, Derek, if you happen to hear this little snippet, we'd love to have you on the show, man. Come talk shop.
No pressure.
I'm applying a little bit of pressure, just gentle pressure though, because we only want good guests on here. And
that's right.
Obviously, Erika, as we kind of wrap this thing up, what's the message you want to send to the audience? Is there anything that we haven't really covered that you wanted to? Is there any kind of encouragement or advocacy you want to get out there?
No, just think outside the box for your retreats or baby showers, tea party, and just that we're here and we just want to immerse you in history and have a good time.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bingham Estate, all the information for that is going to be in the show notes, in the description if you're watching on YouTube. And Fred, why don't you hit her with that final question?
All right. Have you tuned into our other episodes?
Not yet.
Good. So you don't know what's coming.
Okay.
All right. So who would win in a fight between a giant polar bear and a great white shark? They're in a body of water of infinite dimensions. There's no shoreline. There's no edge of the pool. There's no sandbar. 6 feet deep water. Giant polar bear, great white shark. Who wins the fight?
Great white shark.
And why is that?
I keep thinking of Shark Week and they breach the water.
And Sharknado. Don't forget Sharknado. Sharknado.
And I love Jaws.
That's right. There you go. No right or wrong answers.
Yeah, for reference, Fred is Team Shark. I'm Team Polar Bear.
Oh.
So, yeah, and I haven't updated you yet. We have made progress on the swag shop.
Yes,
and that will probably be live by December 31. If not, it'll be early January. But we've identified a local vendor who helps with e-commerce.
Ooh, nice.
And we're going to have a very tastefully curated batch of swag. A mug,
I appreciate this.
Polo shirt, or coasters or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but anybody who wants to support the mission of the McKinney Podcast, we've got you. Yeah, it's coming soon. Fear not.
That's right. So, and of course, we've got to put out there that if you know somebody who is truly unique and the best at what they do here in McKinney, drop us a note, reach out to us so that we can get these people scheduled on here, so that because we want to build content for you.
Yep. The only rule is that they have to have a McKinney address and they can't be part of some national chain.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, whatever they're doing, they either need to live in McKinney or they need to have a McKinney address for their business.
Yeah.
And with apologies, because there are people that are literally like one street away, over off of Custer, and they're like, "Well, can I do it? I'm right next to McKinney." He's like, "But you don't have a McKinney address."
That's right.
I'm sorry, it's literally in our show. Like, it's the McKinney Podcast. It's not the Almost McKinney Podcast.
Yeah, the Almost McKinney.
It's a McKinney adjacent podcast.
Yeah, it's like, I wish I was McKinney, but I'm in Frisco. It's like, well, then go on the Frisco podcast. Oh wait, there isn't one. So,
And
anyways,
just like there isn't one, there isn't another Bingham Estate anywhere else.
Yes.
and she is Erika McWilliams, and this has been another episode of the McKinney Podcast, where we celebrate what makes us unique by nature. Check out the Bingham Estate. What is it? .com? BinghamEstate.com?
Yep.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Good deal. Check out the BinghamEstate.com, and we'll catch you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all take care.
Bye.